Hello, everyone who has joined us so far. We're just going to give it a couple more minutes for any stragglers, and then we will begin the webinar. All right, I think we'll just start right now. Welcome, everyone. Just some housekeeping items before I toss it over to John to welcome our speakers tonight. This webinar is recorded, so we are going to be putting it up on our YouTube channel. If you have any questions for the speakers, feel free to put it in the chat box, and I will just read them out to the speakers at the end of their presentation, and they can answer them. If you have any IT related questions, also put them in the chat box if you're having any trouble hearing or anything like that. And yeah, so John, take it away.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us. It's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, who is Sarah Midlane Jones. Sarah is the Communications and Community Spokesperson for the Bay of Quinte Remedial Action Plan, quite often just simply referred to as the RAP. She has been with the RAP since 2009. Sarah's background is in the field of communication and public relations, where she has gained experience in the environmental, sports, and art sectors. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Sarah.
Thank you, John. Now let's see if we can make this work. Okay, screen. Oh, of course it didn't work. Where are we here? Why didn't that work?
To bring it back to the other screen with your PowerPoint, if you want to stop sharing your screen and then click on the button again.
Right.
And then click on the option in one of the little boxes.
Okay, so I've got screen. I don't have my PowerPoint up here any longer. So if I click screen, share, then that just brings me back to the Zoom. Where did my PowerPoint go?
Did you completely close out of it? Like, is it on the bottom handlebar, like the PowerPoint icon?
No.
I think you might have exited out of PowerPoint completely.
Okay, hold on. Here we go. There we go. Okay, is that showing up?
Yep, we can see your slideshow now.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the sort of the history of the RAP, where we're at, and what going forward for the Remedial Action Plan looks like. So basically, what is an area of concern? Bay of Quinte was designated as an area of concern back in 1985 under the Great Lakes Water Quality Agreement. So Great Lakes areas of concern are communities, bays, rivers on the Great Lakes system where human activities severely damage the quality of the environment. And each area of concern must develop a remedial action plan. Now, the Bay of Quinte is certainly not unique in this. Around the Great Lakes, there's 43 areas of concern. There's 17 on the Canadian side. And the red circles that you're seeing on this map are areas of concern where all actions are to be completed by 2026, and that includes the Bay of Quinte. I think for a little historical perspective, it's important to remember how far we've come. This is a shot of the Belleville waterfront. It's about a 1948 shot. And you can see there's coal on the shoreline. There are oil tankers. There's garbage dumps. We certainly back then did not respect our waterfronts. They were used as commercial ports, and if you wanted to sort of live in the big house up on the hill, that's what you did. These days, everybody wants to live down on the waterfront. And you got to remember, we also had a lot of industry that was along the bay shoreline as well. Again, this is probably around 1948 picture of the Bakelite. And back then we had no issues filling in wetlands and building on wetlands, and it certainly took a toll. Now, the Bay of Quinte's watershed is 18,000 square kilometers. It runs along the North Shore of Prince Edward County, down past Amherst Island, all the way up through Scooter Lake, just this side of Bancroft, basically to Algonquin Park, back down past Lake Scugog, and to Prince Edward County. For the RAP, the majority of our work has been done closer to the bay, sort of 401 south, and our stewardship goes sort of as far as Highway 7. Now, for the Bay of Quinte, the main issues that were identified were excess nutrients, too much phosphorus, which equaled too much algae, bacterial contamination, toxic contamination, and the loss of fish and wildlife habitat. Now, these 4 areas were then put into categories so they could be monitored and assessed. In everyday language, we call them environmental challenges. In the scientific terms, in the Remedial Action Plan, they're called beneficial use impairments. So the Bay was identified with 11 environmental challenges. And as you can see, since 2017, we've come a long way. We have since redesignated 8. That leaves us 3. And those 3 are getting very close to coming out for public consultation. So 2 are in the have their final reports written, and they're in the editing phase. And 1 is having the final analysis of scientific data. So we're certainly moving along. Now, once we have all 11 of those environmental challenges have met the criteria that's outlined in the Remedial Action Plan, then the Bay can be delisted, which means removing it from the areas of concern list. However, there were 80 recommendations in the original documentation for the Remedial Action Plan, and one of those was to pull together a phosphorus management plan that would effectively control long-term total phosphorus loading to the Bay. Now, all the work that's been done on the Bay has been overseen and is overseen by a Restoration Council. The conservation authorities, Lower Trent Conservation and Quinte Conservation, co-chair that council. And then there are federal and provincial agencies on it, the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte, CFB Trenton, there's public representation and municipal representation on that council. So, as I said, the main issue with the Bay has always been the amount of phosphorus entering it. Main sources: sewage treatment plants, agriculture, and stormwater. So what's been done over the years? There's been a lot of work done. Rule sources have improved practices on over 400 farms. It's prevented over 16,000 kilos of phosphorus from reaching the Bay. There's been huge improvements to fish and wildlife habitat. There's been 50 kilometers of shoreline restored, over 800 and 36 hectares of wetland have been rehabilitated and protected. Sewage treatment plants have upgraded and reduced their phosphorus loadings to the bay over the years. Stormwater management has been implemented through pollution prevention and control plans. Most new developments these days have to have stormwater management ponds or some sort of stormwater management facility. There's still a lot of stormwater that goes into the bay untreated. If you look at the old East Hill, there's still a fair amount of, you can walk down along the Moira River, you can see storm drains pouring into the river. And there's been a lot of toxic cleanup, municipal industrial abatement strategies over the years. Also, over the years, the bay's been a living laboratory. It's got 40 plus years of monitoring and research on it. There's data sets that go back to the 70s. And this is really unmatched in the Great Lakes system. So we're extremely lucky to have those data sets, and it certainly gives us a long-term view of how the bay has progressed. The studies that are being done on coastal wetlands, the fisheries, species and abundance, as well as habitats, water chemistry. There's been a lot of modeling studies done, and also on the tributaries, there's been a lot of studies done. This is a study that was done on the Napanee River, and it was to determine phosphorus loading after storm events. So you can see this little machine after a good storm event, a rain event. Each hour it would collect a water sample, then those water samples were sent to the lab in Toronto, and it was analyzed for phosphorus and water chemistry. But despite all the progress that's happened, phosphorus levels are still an issue, and so is algae blooms in the bay. So to move forward, there was in the Canada-Ontario Agreement on Great Lakes water quality and ecosystem health, there was support for the development of the phosphorus management plan for the Bay of Quinte to protect water quality. And this phosphorus management plan is the key remaining action before the bay can be delisted as an area of concern. Why do we need a phosphorus management plan? Something has to be in place once the remedial action plan is finished. We can't sort of go, okay, remedial action plan's done, awesome. We've met all the criteria and the goals that were set out in it. And now what happens? There has to be something in place moving forward. So the phosphorus management plan is to restore and maintain the bay to a healthy and sustainable condition for the long term by reducing harmful algal blooms and maintaining a sustainable fishery. So the current phosphorus objectives are 30 micrograms per liter seasonal total phosphorus. And this objective is being met. However, it does not reflect the considerable year-round variations within the system, the nearshore water quality conditions that are subject to public perception, and the persistence of harmful algal blooms in the bay. So in the phosphorus management plan, we've worked with the University of Toronto in their modeling department, and the proposed objectives in the plan are 40 micrograms per liter maximum total phosphorus with a 15% allowable violation during the growing season. What this translates into is a seasonal average of 25 to 27 micrograms per liter. And to achieve this as well, the phosphorus levels in the major tributaries should not exceed 20 micrograms per liter. So the approach to the phosphorus management plan is, I said, to reduce the harmful algal blooms and then keep the sustainable fishery. The strategy is based on best available science and modeling studies, best available technology for wastewater, stormwater treatment, and the adoption of long-term stewardship initiatives. And how will we do it? Through adaptive management. We're going to learn from the outcomes of management actions, accommodate change, and improve management. So how will we get there? Proposed reduction for phosphorus loading from sewage treatment plants is to be point loadings are to be reduced by 60%. So that means there needs to be a 0.1 microgram per liter design objective. There needs to be a reduction in bypass events, and new technology needs to be added as population increases, because we all know there's the area is growing. There's sort of more population coming in around the bay. So new technologies are going to need to be implemented. For stormwater, urban runoff still needs to be reduced by 50%. Like I said, most new developments these days have some form, must meet level 1 stormwater guidelines. But still, there can be enhanced stormwater management control. There can be retrofits. If you've seen the construction that's going on Herkimer Avenue, part of that is the installation of some oil and grit separators at the end of Herkimer to reduce the amount of phosphorus that is entering the bay. And the use of low impact development, green infrastructure. And urban management practice, municipalities need to lead by example. They need to install green infrastructure. They need to be doing stormwater retrofits. Don't apply fertilizer to sports fields unless it's found necessary by soil tests. But urban homeowners can help, right? Installing rain gardens, permeable pavers, reusing rainwater, and planting native plants. And to help this along for urban homeowners, we have stewardship programs that sort of combine education and outreach with financial incentives. Now, agriculture needs to reduce by 20% via best management practices. So things like cover crops, soil erosion control structures, conservation tillage, livestock fencing, nutrient management, projects that reduce erosion and runoff and increase infiltration. Farmers should also be encouraged to avoid the winter application of fertilizer, manure, and biosolids. Again, we offer programs that offer education and outreach with financial incentives to help farmers implement some of these best management practices. So as steward projects, we offer free soil testing and cover crops. And we offer a number of rural stewardship projects, from livestock fencing, alternate watering systems, erosion and water quality improvement projects. So those cover a wide variety of projects that firms and agriculture can implement, everything from constructed wetlands to stormwater management, stream bank stabilization. The idea is to keep the soil on the fields and increase the infiltration. We also offer a free septic program for homeowners that are on the Bay of Quinte. And we offer for urban homeowners a rain garden project to install a functioning rain garden, and we offer $750, and it includes native plants, compost, gravel, mulch, even a contractor or rental equipment. But you need to be sort of within an urban area. You have Belleville, Trenton, Napanee, Deseronto, or Picton. And this is just a map of sort of where our stewardship area is and the area that we basically worked in. Like I said, most of the works happen sort of 401 and south. Stewardship goes to number 7. And of course, the closer you are to the bay, the higher priority a project will get. So moving forward, We've been reaching out to municipalities. We've talked to most of the ones around the Bay about the phosphorus management plan, and sort of informed them where we're going with it, because quite a lot of the work that's got to be done with the plan has to go through the municipalities. And all the information can be found on our website at bqrap.ca. So that's it from me. I will stop sharing. Okay.
Okay, if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat for Sarah. Or if you want to speak your question, you can just raise your hand and I'll unmute you if you want. I'll give it maybe a minute to see if anyone types anything. And then John can introduce Alana. If you do have any questions later on for Sarah, feel free to put them in the chat, and we can do it at the end of the presentations, okay? All right, first question, how is the BQRAP funded?
The RAP is funded both federally and provincially.
What is the biggest source of phosphorus in urban settings?
Well, stormwater is the biggest source of phosphorus from urban settings. If you just sort of, like I said, if you kind of take a look around, there's still a lot of stormwater outlets that don't have any sort of form of phosphorus mitigation on them, and that go directly into waterways. So that's a big issue. So anything that can be done to sort of slow down and reduce the amount of water that goes into the stormwater system through either rain gardens for homeowners, permeable pavers, and municipalities implementing retrofits, those sort of things will help reduce the amount of stormwater, amount of runoff going down the storm sewers.
All right, I don't think any more questions are coming up, so John, take it away.
Okay. Our second speaker tonight is Alana Bancroft. Alana has been a staff member at the Quinte Waste Solutions for close up to 10 years now. Alana is a graduate of the Sue Sanford Fleming Environmental Technology Program. And since graduating, she has worked in several contract positions with both the Quinte Conservation and the Lower Trent Conservation Authorities. Since joining Quinte Waste Solutions, Alana has worked at various positions, including scale clerk, but is presently the organization's markets and administration lead. She still performs other functions within Quinte Waste, such as conducting internal audits, writing policies, and helping oversee the collection routes. Alana was instrumental in organizing their internship program. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Alana.
Good evening, everyone. Just gonna share my hand at sharing now. Where am I though? Oh, for Pete's sakes. All right. I'm going to cut a little bit of this out because, as I joked with the organizers earlier, I am exceptionally chatty. So some of this will skip through. I've got a couple of videos I think we could probably do without tonight, just given time constraints, but you can find them. We do have a YouTube channel, and that's where I got them from. They're a little dated, but we're working on updating a lot of our communication stuff. We've been through some stuff. So yes, I am the administrative markets and administrative lead here at Quinte Waste Solutions. Quinte Waste Solutions is your municipal curbside blue box recycling program. We have 9 member municipalities who in 1990 were required to get together and create a recycling program, and chose to collaborate as the Center and South Hastings Waste Services Board because the cost of creating a facility, if I say MRF, it's a material recovery facility. So I'm not talking about my buddy Murphy. A MRF is required for the program. So they got all together and decided to have a board that would facilitate all of these programs for them. Sorry, there's still things in the way here. So who pays for recycling here in Quinte? Well, currently it is the material sales. So I do the marketing here in Quinte. I get as much as I can for our material, but we are at the mercy of the stock market. So sometimes it's way up, sometimes it's way down. And unfortunately, like right now, sometimes we have to pay to actually move really good recyclable material. It's just the way things are. We're at the mercy of a lot of things, including transportation costs. The other thing is if you are a property owner, anybody who owns a property here in Quinte that is a residential property, a small portion of your taxes go to that. I say small, I know it's not insignificant as a property owner myself, but it is 33 cents a week to have a truck come to your home and collect your properly sorted blue boxes at the curb. So when we see things like user fees around blue box purchasing and things like that, it can certainly be frustrating, especially if you're from a municipality that chose to provide their residents with that for free. The reason that the Center and South Hastings Waste Services Board has been so good at keeping costs low is because we do require residents to do things like purchase their blue boxes. We do free exchange if they break though. The last and final way that we pay for recycling here in Quinte right now is stewardship funding. So any of the producers, got a bit of a diagram here that shows several different kinds. Anybody who makes a package that is for food product, and it falls under a few other spectrums, but mostly food products are required to pay 1/3 of the cost. So you may have heard some of the things in the news and new legislation coming through. In the next couple of years, Quinte Waste Solutions will be transitioning with the rest of the province. Some folks are already on their way to an entirely funded model through the stewardship funding. So your property taxes will no longer be a factor in that. You were not expecting to see a change in the delivery of the program. So they've told us time and time again that, you know, residents won't even notice. They're just going to have somebody else coming in to pick it up and deal with it. We don't know where we fall into the recycling blue box collections and processing and all those things that we do now. But we still will have our hazardous waste program for our municipal services. I don't touch a lot on that, but it is a really important program. So if you do have any questions about hazardous waste, please do let me know. I'm very happy to get that information to you as well. So we're the blue box program here in Quinte. You've probably seen our blue trucks on the road. Majority of them anyways, they have our number and that on them. And then our main facility for recycling is here in Trenton at 270 West Street. So the MRF, all of the collections from Quinte, all of those municipalities, all of Prince Edward County, way up to Madoc and Marmor Townships, Tandanega, everything gets collected on its collection day, is brought in by a truck to this facility, where it is sorted into grades for the purpose of creating a marketable product. So we are a 2-stream blue box system. I know that a lot of folks, again, if you're coming from a different location, things are done differently around the province, because in 1990, the model was that you had to have a program if your population density was this, that, or the other. So when those programs were started, there was no blueprint for what a MRF should look like, what type of machinery should be there, what could happen to it, how to sort the blue boxes, how to make it work so that your staff, like the physical infrastructure, you know, was able to grade. So this is the program that was started here in Quinte. It's a 2-stream system. A lot of our partners, you may, if you know Northumberland County at all, had a very different system a few years ago. You threw everything in a clear bag, sent it off to their MRF. They've transitioned with great effort to a 2 blue box system because it keeps garbage down. Unfortunately, 40% of the material in bags, I've done the audits myself, tends to be garbage. And it keeps things running more streamlined and a better sort to get a better quality product at the end of the day. Unfortunately, recycling isn't altruistic. We don't do it because it's the right thing to do, even though it is. Somebody has to be able to take that product and to make it into something new. So when we're looking at recycling, the first box, a little bit of the technical, well, not technical, logistics here. There's a rhyme and a reason for everything. The tall box is for plastic and metal containers. You're certainly welcome to use a short one, but you may not put paper in the other box. I know they do that, paper in this tall box. I know they do it differently at different locations, but it's a health and safety thing for us here in Quinte for repetitive strain. A colleague, I'll talk about Billy sometimes. Billy picked up every tall box full of fiber for 10 years. Just to make sure that he was providing that service. And on the last time he did it, he dislocated his shoulder in the middle of picking up the box. Because of that and some other repetitive strain injuries, this gentleman is no longer able to work, period. Not just here with us at Quinte. So these health and safety things we've set up are for a good reason, and some of them are pretty serious. So we do ask that everything is loose in the box. Don't tie it together, don't set it all down. Like tuck it in. If you do need to make stuff for room for wind, you can crunch things, push them, squish them in the bottom, put another blue box on top. The fibers one holds down the containers. Get a second box. If you're overflowing like this, it's a great picture to show you the types of things we keep in there. But it's, if you need a second box to keep the wind from blowing it, please do get one. Just have as many as you need for your family's home. And we do free blue box exchange if they break. So we take aluminum cans, bottles, plastic containers. You'll notice that there is, I didn't do a really great job for that. Well, there we go. We look at the numbers. Number 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 are the numbers we accept. Those are all types of plastic. Number 3 is a vinyl, which we don't accept. And number 7 is a mixed plastic. It tends to be a lower quality, difficult to sort out. When you're looking at your container, again, it'll probably be from a grocery store. I like to use this example. We'll talk about circular economy in a minute. It's going to have a numbered recycle symbol somewhere on it. It tells us, oh, geez. You'd think I'd know this one. This is the one I've been using for ages. It's on here, I promise. It's a number 1. It's a PET. That's a type of plastic that we sorted into its own specific grade. So it's important that you know what type of plastic it is. A lot of things, food containers will very often have it. It's very rarely that they don't for plastic, but anything that doesn't is generally a mixed plastic or a polyvinyl blend, and it doesn't fit the system for a number of reasons, but one of those is marketing. We also take white styrofoam. Here at my desk today, I use a couple of examples for residents that come in. This stuff, I don't know if you can see it really good. If you break it up as all the little balls, it's a real pain. It's a static everywhere, but not this stuff, none of the spongy, foamy stuff. We also take empty tin cans, empty, completely empty aerosol cans, metal cookware, but we don't take any black plastic. The reason that we don't take any black plastic is because it's of lower quality. It's different for those reprocessors to take black plastic and market it or make it into something new. And quite often, because plastic only has so many times that it can be reprocessed, it degrades in quality. So they hide those imperfections to put it out into the marketplace with the black dye. Something very important to note, as I said, completely empty aerosol cans. Everything here at our facility is sorted by hand. If you choose to put something that's dangerous in our blue box, one of our staff members here, who I have to say do not receive the credit that they deserve for, if it wasn't for these sorters, worst job I've ever seen in my life. God bless them. They show up every day. They are intricate to making this process work. If an empty aerosol can makes it into our baler, it gets past all of those people, it explodes. It will explode right beside the operator who's operating the baler. So please, 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 when we ask to do these things, there's a lot of health and safety involved in it. Papers can go in the standard size box. Again, really pretty picture to make it obvious what we put in there. I know you'll see my blue box here shortly. I like to say, yeah, I know I'm the recycle lady. I'm kind of particular, but stuff it in, stack it down, stack boxes inside of other boxes. We do ask you to put the glass on top. The reason for that is, yes, there are 2 compartments in the truck. There's actually a third, and it is for glass. Glass can very often be, on a quick glance, look like plastic bottles. The driver has about 15 seconds for stop. He's going to take that glass out, put it in the glass chute, and then dump the fibers bin. If glass breaks in the glass chute, that's fine. It's dandy. It gets dumped onto a concrete pad here and moved with equipment. and no one touches it again. Again, health and safety, if it breaks anywhere else, it goes up our sorting line, which is 2 conveyor belts, and then the staff there have to deal with it. So broken glass and stuff coming down the line is obviously not very safe. And because it cannot be handled, it doesn't get recycled. So it needs to be in the correct location to be recycled in this program. Make sure everything is clean. I have mentioned more than once that this facility has a lot of people working on the line. When I say the line, I mean like it's 2 conveyor belts, and people stand at those bunkers each day, day in, day out, and take one type of plastic. They throw it. I do the hand motions. One guy stands there and takes peat off. One guy stands there and takes number 5. One takes tubs and lids. If you put something in your blue box, say Friday afternoon after the truck comes, you've got a yogurt container, got a little yogurt in it. It's no big deal. It's in my garage. That's going to sit in your blue box, in your garage, in whatever the weather conditions are, all the way until the next collection day, when it will go into the truck. If it gets collected, it shouldn't, where these fine folks are going to have to handle that. We'll talk about a few of the things that they have to dodge and deal with in order to handle that, just that container. But I can't not stress enough not just for it makes the money, it makes more money for us. It does this, it does that. There are people that do this all day long, and they really deserve us just to give it a rinse, a really good rinse for them. So when our driver gets to the curb and it looks like this, there's not a lot that he can do other than sort it or leave it. You can see, I'll show you a few of them. So this is, oh, typical, this is a silly one, but he should tag it and leave it. We don't take straws. You can see a little bit of food waste. You can see it's all mixed together. If he stood there and sorted each thing into the right compartment in the truck, it would not take 15 seconds. He has 1,000 stops to do today. If those boxes are overweight because they're both tall boxes, again, he's got to deal with that. The other thing is, though, if he chooses to take it because he doesn't want any angry residents coming out and he doesn't want to have to explain to his boss why he left anything because he's in a rush and it's just quicker, folks at this facility have to deal with it. When the plastic and metal goes up one line that's intended for fibers, they have to try and pull that out of there. So instead of grabbing the really good quality stuff we can make money on, they're spending their time grabbing plastic and metal containers. One of the other things I like to point out in this particular one is that there's Tim Hortons coffee cups. We do not accept them in our program because we're a smaller MRF and we don't have the capacity and we don't have the infrastructure to sort them into a different grade. Lots of places can take them, but we're very minimal here. The only automation we have in this facility is a magnet, very large magnet that will remove all of the ferrous material, all of the magnetic stuff. And then we have an eddy current, which creates conditions under which the aluminum become magnetic and it shoots up into another location. So everything else you see here, somebody has to touch at least once to get it into the right place. So drivers, these are actual pictures from on the road. These are things that they see, 15 seconds to stop. So I know that people get frustrated. Well, I would never. Driver is waste collector is one of the top 10 most dangerous jobs in Canada. That includes, things among the ranks of soldier and police officer and nurse and all of those, corrections officers. It's because they deal with these types of things. Absolutely, we provide them with PPE. We provide them with prick-proof gloves and all those things. But I've had colleagues be stuck with needles here on the road and in our facility in the MRF. Those folks who I can't imagine. I like to tell my high school students, how much would I have to pay you to maybe get stuck with a needle once in a while? I assure you they don't make that much. I certainly wouldn't do the job. These folks now have to go through all of the medical testing, all of the things that's required because someone made a poor decision. We can't risk that for our drivers. So if it's not sorted at the curb when we get there and it looks, any perception of danger, our driver has to do what's best for himself, for health and safety, for the job. This is pretty irregular, but it is what we do see. It's a real thing. The beginning of the pandemic, a lot of that, but it's made of paper. Anything that may or may not, we're not guessing if it could possibly contain bodily fluids in any way. We're not taking it. We don't take it. Again, I kindly explain to some folks who are just like, but it is made of paper. It is, but you can only recycle paper so many times And in this case, even if it wasn't really gross or yucky, it just came straight from the box. It's too fibrous. It can't be recycled into something else. It's sort of, I have a graph later, but it goes down in quality and then it's done. It becomes toilet paper. And one last one, we get some things that people think we do take metal cookware, but they throw their knives in here. Really dangerous again. So if the driver doesn't notice, throws it in, before it gets to that magnet, we have on our containers line, we have a station called pre-sort, which is what it sounds like. Those folks could potentially be stabbed or cut or any of this with knives that have been through goodness knows before it got to them. So again, I know most people would never do this, but if we service 1,000 homes a day and only 1 or 2 or 3 of those does something really careless or thoughtless or, not thinking, we can absolutely, actually, I got this question today. How do I recycle knives? Safely package them up, find a scrap metal place, drive with them, in something that's safe. Let the staff where you're going, even one of our facilities have scrap metal bins, let them know, I've got knives I'd like to recycle. We can place them right in the scrap metal bin where from then on out, they won't be touched by person. It's all done automated. So these are my blue boxes. So I do like to tease, yes, I am the recycle lady, but the ones on, oh goodness, I don't know if they're your left or my left now. The 3 blue box set out. That was during the pandemic when we had the kids at home. We always had to have an extra box for paper because we were printing out worksheets. They're little guys. If you need an extra box for your family's needs, please get an extra box. If you put things into a bag, somebody has to rip that open by hand. We had incidents in an 18-month period where we had 18 hospital visits because of injuries related to things splashing in things splashing in our workers' faces here at the MRF. Needle pricks, even something as that seems like not dangerous, like garlic powder. If you got that in your face, you don't know what it is, but that it burns and you can't breathe. There aren't 18 staff members here. So some of those folks got the privilege of going twice. Dear, I'm not sure if anybody else does, but I've got an alert on my phone. I apologize. So again, safety is the game here to get, it is production, get it done quick. When you have, so your blue box are required to be on a flat surface, on your driveway, on the curb, whatever you'd like, as long as it's flat, non-slippery. We do ask you to bag your bags and put them together on top. This prevents them from blowing around. This is the only thing that should be bagged in your blue box at all. And I know it's a pain. I know that there are seniors that have a tough time doing this. I know that there are families that are busy. I myself probably broke my back doing this, but it needs to be flat so that the driver can grab it and go. Again, I like to tell the story of poor Billy. He did a number of foolish things in our tenure together. He reached up onto the top of a snowbank to grab a blue box. It had been a warm day and then it was getting cooler. The snowbank had iced over. When he went for that, his cleat slipped. He slid down the snowbank underneath this, past the sidewalk and underneath his truck. Is that a regular occurrence? No, but we do get twists, sprains, strains. I've had staff, sorry, I take ownership of the staff here and protective of them. We've had drivers that have had broken ankles from twists and things like that related to, just really icy conditions. Whatever we can do to get these guys in and out and done their day as quickly as possible and as safely as possible. And if that means, making a little spot and throwing down some salt, please do. So I do have a couple of videos. I'm not sure that we should run through them for time. This is my colleague, Jeff. He does show portions of the truck. This particular video is a little bit older, so I'll skip over it today, but there are compartments in the truck. We very frequently get folks asking us, why do I have to sort it? You throw it all in the same place. The older trucks were what's called side load. You can see the sleeve along the front. They fold straight up and down into the top of the truck. There are 2 compartments in there. And then actually with these trucks, there was a 3rd for cardboard he had to take to the back and then the 4th for glass. Let's see if I can, there we go. The new trucks, the majority of them are compacting vehicles. So if you're looking straight on at the one picture here on the side, there's a hockey stick. I asked the driver, what's that for? And he told me the technical term is poking stuff that gets stuck. He has, you can see there's across the center here, it's a stacked hopper. So the driver dumps and then dumps. So from straight on, it might look like he's dumping it all in one place. And certainly if you haven't sorted and the driver wants to just take your box and get out of there because he doesn't want to have to deal with, it takes longer to tag, it takes longer to inform residents. He doesn't want anybody to come out and yell at him. That happens a lot. We've had some pretty serious harassment in the last couple of weeks, actually. It looks like he's dumping it in one place. But if you look at the picture of the back of the vehicle, you can actually see that there are two compartments. They lift independently. They're dropped on our tipping bay floors independently and pushed up those lines independently. Yes, there's some mixing sometimes, but for the most part, if we can keep it as minimal as possible, the less time our staff here in production spends trying to get the wrong stuff into the right spot, they can get the good stuff and make money. So I have another one about why sorting is so important. You can actually see in this picture, I hate this video because you can actually see stuff that shouldn't be here. Again, I encourage you to watch this if you have some time, but I don't want to take all night for this. But I should tell you, we are open to tours. So if you have small groups and we can work it in, it's best to do it midday. We also do doors open here in Quinte West. I highly recommend it. It is a really awesome day for the staff here, very busy, but we are rolling nonstop. And it is so awesome to see people come in and really understand what we do and why there's all these little fussy rules and things like that. And you can tell that, you can really tell when there's going to be a person who, that person is going out there and they're going to be an ambassador for this program, and everybody they meet who isn't sorting correctly is going to be from now on. It's something really special for the staff to see, but it's a pretty cool sight. If you've never seen a lot of industrial processes, or even just to witness, and I like to point out, smell what the recycling game is about. So these are things that we experience here. We had the what's every year, I swear to goodness, maybe every other, we get a deer carcass during hunting season in the cardboard. Oh, really gross? Yes. Disrespectful to the animal? Yeah. Disrespectful to staff? Absolutely. But if you want to think of it fiscally, the staff here, this program has to pay for that ruined a whole bale of corrugated cardboard. 1 ton is about the weight of a bale of cardboard. It then had to go in the trash because there is no job on earth that pays enough to pick parts of this deer out of that. The staff here have nerves of steel. When this happens, this happened, Tyler said to Peter, "Oh, this one's bleeding." If I was in a workplace and something started bleeding, you would see like a cloud-shaped Alana mark out the door. These guys realized there was a deer, just moved it off to the side. Same thing happened with a small propane cylinder. It actually blew up. The operator shut down the equipment, went and got a fire extinguisher, tried to put it out. It was in a bale of tin, so he wasn't super successful. So the forklift came and put it in the yard, where they continued to try and put it out with fire extinguishers while they waited for the fire department to come. Again, I'd have been out of here like nobody's business. Next picture is stuff that the staff next door, when they find something really juicy, I guess, gross, disgusting, they'll bring it to us here in the office and we take a picture and we share it on our social media. We've gone so far as to have someone leave their pants in our depot here. We joke a little bit about that, but really there's no textile recycling here in Quinte. I have a few things that I can help you maybe get, through some like thrift stores stuff, but not in the blue box. And today we actually had a driver who had underpants, shoes, coffee grounds, and it was a cart. It smelled upon approach. So we do get these things. The next picture is a box of spent fireworks. They are spent, but are they still flammable? Yes. You would think it was the paper that catches really quickly, but really it's the plastic you should be worried about. There's some pretty cool videos online of those fire lanterns landing in a MRF on the PET and exploding immediately. A colleague of mine found this particular board at the bottom here with the gray Q. That was, you can see leaning forward are the nails. He took that out of one of the corrugated cardboard bins at a facility, at an apartment in Belleville. While he's grabbing that, he could potentially have just ripped his arm open. We get food waste all the time. We get rodents. This particular poor lad was found inside a sealed margarine container in our depot. So someone intentionally did that. That was a sad day here at the MRF. We do have rats, very big, healthy, juicy, fantastic rats that are very happily, we have a pest protocol, but It's the nature of the game. We're beside a transfer station. So when you put food in the blue box and things like that, again, the folks out there on the MRF are tough. A rat will just walk down the line and they'll just like pick it up and move it, or they don't even care. They're so desensitized. And last but not least, and I think this is a funny one that the kids in the high school like have a good laugh at, there's a surprising amount of toilet seats. Just because something is plastic doesn't mean it goes in the blue box. So household container with the numbered recycle symbol, and if there's the potential for it to have human or animal biological material on it, it's going to be a no for us. Thank you. So life cycles of products. I did talk about life cycles of products. Aluminum is one that can be recycled infinitely. A lot of folks, especially adults, are interested in what we do with our material here in Quinte. They have seen terrible things in the news. I have been here for 10 years. I've been doing the marketing exclusively for about 3. When I first started, we were really fortunate to be able to keep everything domestic here in Canada and the United States. Markets have changed, things have become much more difficult, and we're not always able to do that. I do my very best to ensure that they're going to reputable companies. I would die of mortification if there was ever a Quinte Waste Solutions fail on the news in some country that doesn't deserve our trash. We don't send out trash. And when we do send out material, we send it to the best places we can. And I do try my best to keep it domestic. For instance, pop cans, there is nowhere in Canada that actually does the recycling of used beverage containers or UBC pop aluminum. Everything pretty much all goes to Kentucky. We do it through brokerages. We don't deal direct with mill, but it all goes to the States. There are lots of aluminum smelters and things like that, mining operations here in Quebec, but they don't take the recycled content. We talk about the life cycle of plastic. We talked about how it's made of petroleum, so certainly it comes from that. Plastic can only be recycled a few times, but I like to use a really great example of the circular economy that we have been a part of for a while. I'm really kind of proud of this part of our operation. I don't share who we sell our material to. It's a very, very competitive marketplace. However, all of the water bottles and pop bottles that you put in the blue box here in Quinte, they get to our facility and they get sorted into bales. And then they go to this really cool, we have a contract with a brokerage that sends them to a really cool facility here in Ontario that has a water bottling recycling plant. So they take the plastic and they make it into new water bottles. Then they ship it just, right down to the next side of the factory, and then they refill them and then they send them back out. Now, we all know that you're not buying water, you're buying convenience, and absolutely bring a bottle, if you can bring your own, do, if you can, but if you need to make a convenience purchase, you forgot your bottle, you're dying of thirst, you have a big event and you can't, source it that way for drinks. I recommend looking for a company that has a really good business model here in Ontario that supports local economy and does the best that can be done for the environment in regards to this particular product. We can also make recycled lumber and fleece and things like that. We do with some of our, not the fleece, but we do have some companies that we send material to that have made recycled lumber. We do, obviously, we take tin, plastic and metal containers and they can be recycled into all sorts of things. We work fairly exclusively with a large company here in Canada that has mills all over the place that does the smelting and reprocessing of those products. Glass is really tough. Glass is infinitely recyclable, but again, recycling is not altruistic. One of the really big factors is transportation. So glass is heavy. That's why a lot of companies are switching to plastic, where they maybe would have had a glass bottle, say for mayonnaise, and as time goes on, they have a plastic bottle. That's because trucks on the road can only carry so much weight. Sometimes it depends seasonally, even for the region of where they're traveling. Glass is very, very heavy. So you can only ship so much of your product if you put it in glass. So you put it in plastic and you can ship more units and then you can make more money. Here in Quinte, when we send out our glass, it goes to a company that's in Quebec. To be honest, I should know this. I think they use it for sandblasting and construction fill. So clean fill, they can use glass for that because it's kind of inert. We do ask that you put your beer, wine, and spirit bottles back to the LCBO because they do recycle them separately. they've already got your 5 cents or 10 cents or 20 cents, whatever the bottle is. And they do refill them and they do reuse them. There's so many times that they can reuse them. So if you put them in the blue box, we will absolutely take them. However, you are paying for them to come in. You are paying for them to be sent back out. And it's been a long time since we've made any money on glass. We have to pay for it. So you're kind of double dipping in how much you're paying if you're leaving your deposit with the folks at the Liquor Control Board, and then you're paying, your municipal services to have this glass recycled. So there's lots of cool places too, and we show some sometimes on our social media of a lot of places do fundraising with them. So it's a nice way if you don't want to go all the way back. Sometimes you can get them picked up at the house. I was talking about the life cycle of paper. Obviously, it starts as a tree, but then it degrades over time. So as you can see, a nice, beautiful, fine paper like office paper would be turned into a newsprint, and then it gets degraded into the bottom corner here. These rolls are it's a type of paper called craft, not like actual craft paper, but it's what they make things like Pringles tubes out of. So we've been really, really fortunate over many years. We've done most of our shipments and dealings with our paper products here in Canada, Ontario, Quebec. Really fortunate in that regard, but we're not anymore. I am still dealing with as many mills that are local as I can. Sonico was one that we gave everything and anything to when they were here in Trenton, because it supported local economy and greenhouse emissions were down because we didn't have to travel as far, all of those things. The last thing that they made that we sent them paper for here was, they literally called it Pringle because it was for Pringle cans. Now we are in a position where we have to move the material. Our facility is only so big. Everybody is charging to pick up the material because of the costs of moving it and because the value of it is so low. There's so much in the marketplace. I operate very transparently because that's what I would want as a taxpayer. This material is about a third of it going in sea containers to India. There is a lot of paper markets. If you did a little Google search, you see that a lot of companies out of Toronto ship to India. They do have a lot of markets in India for different types of papers. And even if we sent them like a mixed fiber, they would, they could sort it down to something just newspapers and just office papers and create a product with that. My preference would absolutely be to keep it at least on this continent as far as greenhouse emissions and all of those things, but we just can't hang on to it and hope for the best. We have to keep it moving. We get about 50 tons a day here, and we have to pretty well ship what we bring in order to keep things moving. So that's a frustrating one for me. I work on that one every day. And of course, this is the one I give to the kids because it does make a difference what you do. But of course, there's reduce, reuse, recycle, and refuse. We all know that we can do less. I took this picture personally in the grocery store. I usually shop at No Frills. And I thought it was the most ridiculous thing I had ever seen, that they had a mat on the floor that says how fresh their produce is, then proceeded to wrap all the produce in several types of plastic and then put how green they are on the top of the cooler there. I took this picture and actually sent it to Loblaws. They sent me their stock response about how much they do for the environment. Unfortunately for them, I'm fairly well spoken and written and do the marketing for a local municipal service. So I did advise them that if they could just go ahead and not do this crap, that would be fantastic for me. I didn't get a response after that. And again, I like to use this other picture here of the bananas, especially for students, like, oh, if only nature had provided a sturdy package that we could have sent this out to markets in and you could take home with you. I encourage everyone to write letters, do what you can. If it worked for Meghan Markle to get a soap commercial changed, then I think it can work for us too. When we stopped taking black plastic, that's what all the mushrooms came in at the time. And I've noticed in the last few years that there's been a change in some of, like, I just stopped buying them. It sucked. I like mushrooms. There's some other products. I've even noticed meat trays, things like that used to come on black meat trays are coming now on a PET, same as this, it goes in with this stuff, tray. So if you choose not to buy those things, if you can, obviously shop local, shop farmers markets, all of those wonderful things if we can. But if you do speak with your dollars, it does make a difference. So that is it for me. Thank you, everyone. I don't know how to unshare.
All right. If anyone has any questions for Alana, please feel free to put them in the chat. I did receive an email question for someone who's registered but couldn't attend. As per ask, I wash, rinse, and dry my recyclables before putting them in my blue bin. If a neighbor down the way put out their recyclables which have not been washed and still has product in them and affects the other items in the truck, will all of that be put in the garbage rather than recycled?
No, yes and no, depending on the circumstances, honestly. It goes down a moving conveyor belt and our staff will grab for the best stuff. Whatever falls off the end, if they can grab something really gross and throw it in the garbage, they will. Whatever falls off the end of our line, because we are at such high capacity, gets rebaled. We cannot reprocess it again. There's still lots of valuable stuff in it. We send it for reprocessing in a facility in Toronto. GFL is our contractor right now. They take it for us at a cost and they're reprocessing, get the rest of the value out. So potentially, yes. If I use the meat trays, if the meat trays are all mixed in and they can't separate them out from any of the good stuff, things get stuck together, things are really gross, then yeah, our staff isn't going to grab them. Their really nasty stuff does get chucked in the garbage. So for instance, right now, when people mix bags of recycling and there's things in there that are not identifiable, or they're obviously dirty, they're obviously gross, the whole bag goes in the trash. It's not safe for our staff to open it because of all the needles and things. And because of COVID, we've had to make some changes. So your neighbor door to door, maybe not too big of a deal if it is not atrocious. For instance, the bale with the deer in it, that whole bale wasn't, part of that pickup. It was probably, it probably came in on a large container, one of our depots. However, it did soil that stuff. So if we got a bale that had something pretty heinous in it, it takes something that large, then yes, it would. But your neighbor not doing a great job isn't going to horribly impact the program. It's a collaborative effort. So if everybody could do their best, that's most efficient. But cleaning things yourself, making sure that that you're doing what's right. We certainly spread the word if you can. That's what we're asking of our residents. So the answer is no. But if it's something pretty bad and it gets all over everything, then some things that are together, yes, have to be thrown out for safety.
Okay, got two people who have raised their hands, so I'm just going to allow them to talk. All right. Cassandra?
Hi, just wondering if you could post the links to watch this video and for the rain garden program on your Facebook or email or whatever.
Yep. I can grab both the link to the YouTube channel with all the videos and a link to more information on the rain garden in the email that I'll be sending to all the registrants, along with a link to our YouTube that will have this recording. So yeah, okay. all in one place, one-stop shop.
Thank you.
All right, and I've got another one from Jim, and I think maybe he raised his hand prior to your presentation, so it might actually be a question for Sarah. All right, Jim, I've allowed you to unmute yourself.
Hello?
Hello.
Sorry, I was just away from the computer for a second. Yeah, I had a question earlier on, not relating to Quinte Waste Solutions, and it was I'm in Bloomfield, and the mill pond in Bloomfield, ties into West Lake, and I noticed that in the support area that Bloomfield wasn't included in it, and I was just curious as to why Bloomfield was not part of the area that was protected or of concern, because the mill pond, it's got a berm that traps all the effluent that runs off of the fields and everything gets jammed up in there and nobody's looking at it at all. And I see you guys aren't either. And I just was curious as to why it was not in an area of concern for you.
I'm not familiar with the mill pond, but the remedial action plan, does it flow into the Bay of Quinte or does it flow into Lake Ontario?
Oh, it would flow into West Lake, so then it would flow into Lake Ontario.
Ontario, yeah. So for us, for the remedial action plan, our focus is totally on the Bay of Quinte. My recommendation would be if you could get hold of the municipality and
I've spoke to
them
them at the election.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
ask
spoke
them what they're
to
doing.
all the candidates.
Yeah, ask them what they're doing about it. And if not, you could get hold of the Ministry of MECP, Ministry of Environment, Parks and Conservation,
Okay.
and talk to them about it. If you're concerned about it, there is a spills action center, and you could phone them and they'll point you in the right direction.
Right. Okay. Thanks for your input.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay, got another question. How do you get a tour of the recycling facility?
I mean, email. That's about the protocol. Yeah, I try to do not just one person. If we can do, like, if you have a group or a couple of people, that we can do it together. This time of year isn't fantastic, but I'm certainly willing to do it during daylight hours. But yeah, send me an email and I can give you all of the details. It is not an accessible site, unfortunately, because it's an industrial site. Everybody will need to be able to come in and walk around. It's pretty tidy, but again, being an industrial site, and most of it is outside. So there are some places I think we could probably do if someone didn't have the ability to do all of the accessibility stuff. But yeah, you just send me an email and I can go through all of the safety and we can schedule the time for sure.
And I will add your email address to the email that I will send to all registrants so they don't start.
Perfect. If somebody thinks of something after, like she said a thing, mine's the general delivery as well, the info one. So send any questions you have, or you can, any of the social media and stuff like that. I can answer like very specific direct questions that way too.
Okay. Does anyone else have any other questions for either of our speakers? Actually, you know what? I have one. So way back when I was a youngin', I did a stint in a municipality in the waste management program or office or whatever you would like to call it. And we had a thing that was called the Thumbs Up program, which was basically to encourage people in the city to recycle properly. And it was basically just like a good for you sticker that they put on the box to make them feel like important that they were doing the right thing. And like a very obviously simple and I guess fun way to encourage people to do it right, because they saw their neighbors get one, and then all of a sudden they wanted one and started recycling properly. And we did notice that people started doing it more correctly after that. Has the county or any other local municipalities done anything like that, or is there like an appetite for that?
I've been trying to get one off the ground for a couple of years, to be honest. If you see way over there, that's my roll of gold. We call them gold star stickers. So because you hate to make people think you're snooping, right? So I tied it in with, I did some curbside audits to see how well our residents are doing, because that helps us drive policy and our communications, right? Like if nobody's using a blue box and they're all just laying it on the curb, that's something we should know. Somebody's got to go and have a look. So I did the curbside audits and it told us, all the variations, and so we could get specific, is everybody putting this in the box and we're not doing very good P&E on this? So that helped. And then when you got it, you got a gold sticker or gold star. And then I entered people into a draw to win, just like Amazon gift cards and things like that, because the last couple of years have been the pandemic. It's been tough to get what business can you go into? and I offered, like we did it through our social media, and I offered like, if we didn't get you, because I could only do so much, it's something I actually was fortunate enough to get our interns involved in, which, you know, got a couple of people off into their waste management dreams. Their dreams. Oh, I'm living the dream. And and so, but there was like hardly any uptake in my poor heart. I'm out here giving gold stars in the heat. And so that is something we have done. I don't know if we're going to continue. I'm pushing for it, but you know, with the general uptake we're getting, it's kind of, it's hard to say if I can get the funds for that.
I don't see any more questions. I will give people one more minute in case they are slow typers. And then I will hand it off to Cheryl for closing remarks. And if you don't feel comfortable asking questions here, I will put the email addresses of our speakers in the email and you can bother them independently. We'll pretend that's a minute. Cheryl, take it away.
Well, thank you both, Sarah and Alana. I guess what came to me after all listening to both of you is the thought that it is all up to us. Every one of us has to be aware of what we're doing in our households versus, you know, what we're doing with our lawn treatments, what we're doing with our garbage, because it all comes back to the environment, to the Bay of Quinte, and to the garbage and what people are doing. I'm saying garbage are recyclables, and where they can go and how we can actually make them recyclables. So thank you so very much for doing this for the South Shore Joint Initiative this evening. Also, while I'm thanking people, I want to thank John Lowry and Kathy O'Connell and Lori Borthwick. Those people made our South Shore cleanup so effective this year. We cleaned up, well, we got 500 pounds of garbage from the South Shore and a lot of very interesting pieces of garbage. But I specifically want to thank those people at all. So this is all about thank you to everyone who cares about our environment and is working hard to make sure that it stays clean and healthy for the generations coming up. Thanks a lot, guys. And I think that is the end.
That is the end. Yeah, so thank you everyone for coming. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you for Cheryl and John for speaking so that I wouldn't have to. Yeah, I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. This recording will be on our YouTube channel. I will be sending an email with all the stuff that I've already talked about. Yeah, and have a great night.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alana. Thanks, Sarah. Very interesting.
Thank you for having us.
Bye, guys.